Hi everyone. So it's been a very long time since I last posted an Overwatch video, and there's been a lot of, comments from you guys saying, why don't you play Overwatch anymore? Please bring back Overwatch. And I do understand, if I was subscribed to someone who covers Overwatch, I would 100% also feel the same way. However, at the same time, you also need to realize that over the time that we've all played this game, it's gotten worse and worse, and the quality of the game has dropped significantly since it came out. All the really stupid, I would say, changes, balance changes to the heroes and stuff. Firstly, I just want to point out, I'm a player that played on launch before Season 1 was announced, and the whole, even when ranked was added to the game, all we had back then was quick play, and the game was beautiful. Just playing with friends, having fun, not really caring, etc. But since around Season 2 or Season 3, issues started to surface, and they weren't just, basic issues that you could deal with as a player, such as griefers, trolls, people that smurf, ruining the quality of the games because they simply, and I quote, they don't care about this account that they play on, so they can do whatever they want. The whole meta being stupid and boring and very, very stale, and character balancing, super annoying. I don't think I've ever played a game where the balancing was this bad. To give you a quick example, characters like Doomfist, Sombra, and Brigitte prove this point. Now, I don't want you guys to think that I'm hating on Overwatch, because I honestly am not. I used to play this game every day for about 6 to 8 hours. The characters were awesome, the story behind it, the animated shorts and all that stuff. It was really cool, man, and I met some really awesome people, and I love this game more than I've ever loved any other game, and that's pretty big considering how much I love Zelda games, Kingdom Hearts, Destiny, Counter-Strike 1.5, 1.6, all these type of cool games. But it's more so that I want this game to succeed, and it sucks to see the game in this state. And so to give you an example, I actually haven't played Overwatch in such a long time, and when I do log in, it will only be for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I immediately log off. And that's not because I don't have time, it's because I choose not to. I just don't want to play anymore. It's not fun. I'm not enjoying it. I can spend my time elsewhere and, have a lot of fun. And, for example, like CSGO, I'm having a lot of fun with that. Like, I haven't played CSGO for 2 years, but coming back to that, I'm just having so much fun. It's great. And that sucks, man, because I used to play Overwatch, 6 hours at least a day. And even if I was losing, I would still stay logged in and play. I was that invested into the game. So from this point, it's just an opinion, so please don't take this too seriously. I just don't think characters need reworks or nerfs like they've been doing for the last 2 years. I think the game itself, Overwatch, needs a rework. The competitive playlist is by far the worst attempt of a competitive mode I've played in any other game. And I honestly don't think I need to explain that. I think you guys all have experienced it as well. Competitive is just a joke. It's not, I don't feel like I'm competing. I don't feel like, it's a challenge. I just feel like it's a clusterfuck half the time. People leaving, throwing the match, people fighting each other on comms, and just no one wanting to gel together and work together. It just feels like a miserable game now. So if you lose, a loss feels terrible. It really hits you hard that you lost. You feel like shit. But if you win, it doesn't really register as a win or you earned that win. It just feels like, oh shit, okay, damn, thank God we won, my SR saved. It doesn't feel good. Then you have the new characters that they add every 3 months or so. All those characters except Anna felt like crap. It just makes the base game feel so out of place, and the original cast feels so awkward to play. Now, when you look at all the new characters that they added, all of them feel uncreative. And that necessarily doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing. Sometimes simplicity is good. But in the case of Overwatch, adding heroes like Brigitte, Moira, Doomfist, etc., it was for the worst. It really hurt the game. It's almost like those characters just torn a big hole through the game, and that hole kept on getting bigger and bigger every time they added a stupid character that had absolutely no skill to it, like Moira. Perfect example. You could just do so much on that character and get away with anything. You would never get punished, Just her whole kit was made for dummies, and I feel like that's just an insult to the players that played, Overwatch for the first 2 years. And then you see the exact same pattern with Brigitte, but even worse. It's almost like they amplified it. The game definitely started to lose traction, and I don't think Blizzard really cared enough to kind of just sit down and think why. They've never really talked about it to us. They were always so quiet, and that leads me to my point about the Overwatch League. I think the Overwatch League had a big part in turning this game into poop, and I honestly mean that. As much as, esports is my thing, I love watching esports on Twitch all the time, I just was never into Overwatch League, and there's a big reason. And I'll tell you why. It wasn't something that grew organically from the community like you see in games like CSGO, Dota, or even League of Legends. I hate to say, but people were grinding that game, and the esports sort of developed. It wasn't just forced. Overwatch League just feels more of a corporate-driven event, pushed forward at the expense of the game. Now, I'm not saying that the people that are currently in Overwatch League didn't grind to get to where they are, because they 100% did. They put in the time and effort. But my point is more about, Blizzard stripping all their attention away from their base game and putting it towards Overwatch League. and thus leaving the base game that all of us play, the non-Overwatch League players, in the dark for what, 6 to 8 months each time until they patch a small thing. Oh, by the way, Lucio's speed changed a little bit. Oh, by the way, Zenyatta's Discord does 5% more damage. And I don't need to go on. Like, these things are so small that they don't change the base game, and that's the problem. Blizzard is so quiet about their base game, but they're so talkative about Overwatch League. It's basically just pushing all the people that play for fun away, and that's not good. Does any of the people from Blizzard play their own game? Ranked is not like Overwatch League. We don't just have an awesome team that's ready to work together and play a really strong composition like GOATs, etc. Even though that's super boring. We don't have that, You go into a Grandmaster game and there's some kid screaming at people, bullying other people to play Mercy, or someone saying, look, I don't play any healers, I only play DPS. Like, you have to change your playstyle for me. Like, it's a mess, and that's just a small percentage of the problems that you face in ranked. And that brings me to my next point. A game with such diversity of characters, there's 30 now, I think, 31, I'm not sure. Only 6 of them are viable and are required for you to pick unless you lose. If you're not playing this guy, you're gonna lose. They're playing that guy, oh dude, you gotta swap now, otherwise the game is done. And that's just how it is now, and I hate that mentality. I don't want to support that mentality. This game is all about counters now, and it's kind of annoying because back then when hard counters were played, for example, if you were a Tracer, I'm already Tracer, no, I'm joking, if you're a Tracer and somebody picked McCree, right, that person technically on paper should counter you. He's an anti-flanker pick. McCree can flashbang Tracer and pop her in the head. Done. However, if you think about it, back then, even though McCree was a big counter to Tracer, Tracers can still outplay the McCree's flashbang and still win, that 1v1. It was all about mind games, but now there's no such thing as using mind games for defeating your counter. It's all about hard counters and just that's it. There's no way around it. And that has just push the game to such a boring state that I just can't even sit through 2 normal games. I immediately log off straight away. I just cannot be bothered playing a game that just feels like a MOBA. Everyone's just throwing CC around, and you're immobilized half the time, and you're getting punched around the map, and booped around here and stuff, and it just gets so boring. I think personally, CC should not be added to an FPS shooter. If you start the game off as mainly an FPS with 1 or 2 characters being kind of like a MOBA character that don't really shoot guns, that's okay. But having most, or let's say half of your roster being able to immobilize you and stop your movement is a big no-no for me. I don't think that's a good idea. A team of 6 characters that can immobilize you, on cooldown, it just gets so annoying and boring. I want to run around and shoot people. I don't want to sit there and be stuck for 2 seconds, or be slowed down, or be pushed around and stunned and all that stuff. It's just annoying. I can't stand that. Another really important point to bring up is that I think Overwatch really relies now on ultimates more than ever. So now it's more like a pick of cards. I have this ultimate, do you have anything to block my my ult? It's like Yu-Gi-Oh, dude. It's like I'm sitting there playing Yu-Gi-Oh and I put Blue Eyes White Dragon, and if my opponent flippin' SpongeBob doesn't have a card that can counter my card, he's done. He's donezo. He's literally Hanzo, but done. And I don't think that's fun. You're playing a game where you're running around shooting people and stuff, but then it turns into a ultimate based game where if you have a certain ult and they don't have that ult to counter it, you win the team fight and you get more percentage on the objective. Back then, when Overwatch first came out, you would see a lot of individual play, a lot of individual skill coming out and helping the team advance. But now it's more about, oh, does our Zarya have Grav? Does our Diva have Bomb to combo with that? Oh, do we have Nano Blade? Oh, do we have, it's just, I know that's just my own opinion, but I honestly feel like most of the Overwatch players agree on that. Having ultimates in the game is not a bad thing, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying ultimates are, so OP that they need to be nerfed. That's not what I'm saying. I just think that something needs to change for individual play to be present again, and not always relying on a combo with ult in order to win a team fight. For a while, toxicity has been a really big factor in why Overwatch is losing players, and I know that sounds really silly of me to say, but honestly it's the truth. A lot of my good mates, a lot of people that join my Discord, a lot of people that are my subscribers, have been really vocal about their experiences with other players in the game. Now, in any game that you play, you'll always have people being stupid, silly, toxic, etc. So I'm not saying Overwatch is the first game to have this, certainly not. If you've played League of Legends, you'll obviously know this. But with Overwatch, I don't think anything has really been done to combat this. For example, the whole endorsement thing is cool on paper and it's very nice to have and stuff, but I don't think it's an actual significant solution to the toxicity. It's more of like a brushing the dirt under the carpet approach. They're not really dealing with it head on, they're kind of just letting people think that the game is friendly when in reality it's not, because the players get frustrated from the game itself and take it out on their teammates, or they've been playing a lot and then they get tilted and they just blame everybody else. The game itself gives this energy, gives this like type of experience. You're just, whenever you play the game, you're just constantly frustrated and annoyed. Another point I want to bring up is with the queuing system. I think there should be two different playlists that you queue into. One is solo queue and the other is mixed with teams of 3 or teams of 4 or even a 6-stack queue. If I flat out want a solo queue, I want to verse a team of solo queue players. I don't want to be able to queue into a team of 6, a 6-stack on the enemy team that have really good synergy, team comms and all that stuff, when on my team I have people that are, solo queue players, we don't know each other, we've just met each other. It's just not fair. And I know it doesn't seem like a big problem, but later on, if you reach Grandmaster and above, you'll, get into those games where sometimes you have a 4-stack of top 500s versus you and 5 other random people. And I'm not saying those aren't winnable, because every game is winnable. It's just not a good experience, and I'd rather not do that. And I don't think it's tough to implement, a queue for people that stack, duo, trio, quads, versus a queuing system that only lets solo queue players play against other solo queue players. I don't think it's that hard, to be fair. So there's loads more that I want to cover, hopefully in a part 2, but for now I think I'll end the video because it's getting quite lengthy. My goal for this video was not to, talk bad about the game. I love the game, I just want it to get fixed and get better and move into a better spot than it is currently. Lots of players have quit and said that they're not gonna come back, which sucks to hear, but it is something that I also feel that I just genuinely don't want to log in and play the game. So hopefully this can somehow make its way to someone important and they can evaluate what I said. Not saying that what I say is the best for the game, because obviously I don't know, I'm not a developer, I'm just a player, but I also do agree that developers need to consider what their players feel and say about their game. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hopefully you'll stick around for part 2 coming soon. See you later everyone.